There we are. Okay, got a few things to do today, as you can see from the agenda. I'll go ahead and pull up the August minutes. Hopefully, you've had a chance to look through. It was a while ago, I know, but if anybody wanted to point out any questions or clarifications or anything else in the August minutes. What did we do in August? Authorities, subcommittees, new chair. Oh, that's right, parts. We talked about parts, didn't we? And oh, additional entries. This was specifically for movies, right? We talked about additional 700 entries.
Yes.
Did the graphic show up in when I posted the minutes on the Sage website? Hopefully the graphic ended up being right on the website. I didn't check and see, but
I didn't see them in the minutes.
this graphic here didn't show?
No, not you mean in the minutes?
Right, yeah, on the Sage website minute.
No, it's not on the website.
It's not on the website? Oh. Well, crikey.
But it was really good minutes.
Let's see here.
No. John, if you send me that document, I'll explore why those graphics didn't show up on the website.
Okay. I'm curious if for some reason it did on mine and it didn't on everyone else's, or yeah, see, it showed up on mine. What's wrong with y'all? Actually, I think it's because the graphic might be stored here, and so it might be blocking other folks from accessing it when it's on our server. But anyway, I'll go ahead and send this to you, Beth, and I'll let Beth deal with it since she probably has more knowledge about it than I do. But anybody have anything in the minutes, or are we ready to vote for approval? Okay, nobody else has any other discussion items for the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
I motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second them. This is Lori.
Lori seconds. Heather motions. Lori seconds. If anyone has a nay vote, please speak up now or type in the chat. Going once. Going twice. Minutes are approved. Alrighty. So, super happy to make this announcement that the all of the work that the CAT level subcommittee has been putting together for the greater part of this year was submitted to the user council for approval, and it was approved, which is great news. I just want to say big thanks to Heather and Leanne and Lisa and Ellen, who did yeoman's work helping us put all that together. We're going to talk a little bit more about what was submitted and approved a little later when we go through the documents. But for now, we just want to say thank you for all your hard work. And if I could somehow make GoToMeeting applaud, I would, but I can't. Wouldn't that be nice if I could have sound effects at my disposal?
Yes.
Beth, can
yes,
you work on that? Just kidding.
Sure. Yeah.
Submit a request to GoToMeeting for sound effects. Okay. I'm also very excited to accept nominations for my replacement here as chair. Anybody have any nominations that they would like to make?
Can I nominate somebody?
Please do.
I want to nominate Celine from LeGrand.
Celine from LeGrand, Celine Vanderloot from LeGrand. Yes, I am excited about the possibility of Celine taking over for me as chair. Would anybody like to move to vote Celine in?
I will. This is Lisa.
Lisa,
Counter.
do I have a second?
I will be happy to second that. That's Lori.
All right. Lisa motions, Lori seconds. Is there any further discussion?
Sorry.
All right. If you have a nay vote, I don't know if I can do this way, but I'm going to do it anyway. If you have a nay vote, please voice your nay vote or put it in the chat. Going once. Lisa says, thank you, John. She's not voicing a nay vote. Going twice. All right. Congratulations, Celine. Celine is going to be your new cataloging committee chair. And I am going to be the new immediate past chair, which is a position I completely created out of whole cloth with no permission from anybody. No, actually, I ran it by the mentors, and the idea is that this new immediate past chair position will kind of assist the new chair in some of the more clerical duties. Will be responsible for taking minutes or appointing someone to take minutes, and will also be the liaison for any new applicants wanting to move to the Cat 1 level, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. All right. Thank you, Celine. And the next meeting in December, she will be taking the reins. Let's go ahead and move on to authorities updates. Beth, did you want to brief us on any new happenings in authority land?
Sure. I'm now sending new records out on a monthly basis to Marchive for authority updates. So I sent the latest batch at the beginning of October for September records. I've already loaded the changed records and any new authority records that were available for those records. Those changes have been made, and I'm working on the near matches for September.
All right. Go ahead.
Can I ask a question on your authority? What happens after they've gone through the authorities? We were just looking at a record that Heather explained had gone through your authority check process, and it had some 999 fields in it that said Marchive. So if those are in there, we know that you've already checked that record. Is that correct?
That is correct, that Marchive has reviewed that record. Now, it doesn't mean that there won't still need to be a change at some point, because new authority records are being created all the time. But it's a good indication that at least at that point in time, the authorities were reviewed. Yes. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
So then I actually have a question related to that. If I am importing a new record, and I have noticed that from some sources that also use Marchive, I've noticed that in their record, they will also have some Marchive tags in them, which means that at some point they have processed their record through Marchive. Do I need to erase those upon import so that we don't become confused and think that we have run ours through, we've run the imported record through Marchive? Does that make sense?
It does, John, and I guess I would lean towards removing them because they're a local tag that don't apply to us.
Mhm.
Do you happen to remember what 9 tag they used?
No, I don't. And I should have written
Okay.
it down, but I don't remember. It looked very similar to what we use. I don't know if it was exactly the same one or not, but
Okay.
regardless, we should probably erase those so that whenever another cataloger sees sees the Marchive tag in the record, they will know that it's been processed through our authorities updating.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
Does anybody else have any other questions on authorities? Okay, let's switch gears and talk about GMDs for a second. Okay, so some big news, folks. The GMD, as you know, if you don't know what the GMD is, that's the subfield H in the title statement. 245 field subfield H. And I had something prepared. I had the list here. Here's the list of the Sage GMDs that we use. And it was kind of an attempt way back in, actually probably predates the 70s, I'm not sure. Back in the original AACR, before AACR2, to describe material that didn't really fit in the majority of cataloging at the time. And it was kind of an attempt to take all of these various terms and create this list to provide additional clarification. And then they discovered at the end of the 1970s that it was kind of not adequate, so to speak. So when RDA was implemented by the Library of Congress in 2013, they split all of this information into 3 different fields. And that's why you see 336, 337, and 338 fields. And so the GMD was not included when the Library of Congress and the other entities moved to RDA and switched from AACR2. Now, we in Sage have kept the GMD designation because our patrons had kind of gotten used to it and it was useful information for a time. But when we fully change from AACR2 to RDA only, and we stop becoming a hybrid catalog and we're an RDA only catalog. Now that hasn't happened yet. I was hoping to get that this year. Currently it's slated for next year. All of these are going to go away and be replaced by those 3x fields, 336, 337, and 338. Now, what does that mean to you right now? We're kind of in this nebulous period where we haven't become RDA only yet, but we're transitioning, and we'll have much more information about that next year, of course. But what you need to know today is we have made the decision, the Mentors Committee made the decision that we aren't going to be including the GMD in RDA records anymore. So, if you are importing an RDA record, and one of the big tip-offs for an RDA record is that you see those 3x fields, there are others, Dude, you are not going to be adding the GMD into the 245 field anymore. And if you're attaching something to an already existing SAGE record that's an RDA record, you will not want to add the GMD into that record either. Okay, now if you're importing AACR2 records or you're working on an AACR2 record and not updating it to RDA, it's fine to leave those in. We will deal with the AACR2 records along with the GMD in that next year when we tackle that. Okay, does anybody have questions, clarifications? That was a lot of words. And I don't exactly speak clearly all the time, so understand. Does anybody want clarification on that?
I just wanted to add, John, that the reason that the mentors moved to this decision was the increasing number of Z39.50 records that we're seeing without the GMD. As more and more systems are moving to RDA, we're just not seeing those GMDs. And the fact that we're going to be moving towards that eventually ourselves it's one less step as a cataloger, bringing an import record in that we have to worry about. So anyway, just wanted to add that as well.
Next year, when we start tackling the differences between AACR2 and RDA and start talking about how to update to RDA and things to look out for and recognize, one of the things we'll be talking about, of course, is those 33X fields. And it's just been amazing to me as I've been kind of doing some research on this, is just the amount of information that those three fields capture, and just all of the various types of carriers and different media we have to access that's contained in those fields. And just the fact that it started as we're just going to have one term here in the title field, and then it just kind of ballooned from there. And we all know just exponentially how many different types of items there are out there that we're now cataloging as catalogers. It's just amazing, and it's easy to see how it became kind of a bit of a tiger by the tail situation. What do we do with this? Well, now instead of one field, it's going to be 3 different fields. Anyway, much more on that later. The thing that you need to know today is don't add the GMD anymore in RDA records. And if you have any questions on that, or you need additional clarification, you can always talk to me or email your mentor. Okay, now that we're done with that, let's go ahead and open it up for any general cataloging questions or concerns. Anything that you're working on that you're finding is difficult? Any fields you want to ask about? Poll the group. Going once.
This is Lori.
Yes, Lori.
Yeah, and I'm wanting to find somebody out there who is an expert at Dewey Decimal. We're kind of reorganizing some of our nonfiction shelves to try to get materials in a more logical arrangement. And I'm not always sure when building complex Dewey numbers. I've never had formal training on it. I've done a few online things. So I don't know if anyone else ever runs into this dilemma. You want to make sure similar materials are close to one another. You want it to be accessible by browsing as well as remaining in some level of appropriate Dewey assignments. And if anyone out there is scratching their heads ever about this or wanting to develop more Dewey knowledge, as much as I hate Dewey, it's the tool we're working with. And so at some point, I guess I'd look for even some kind of online training. Or just find out if anyone else is dealing with this. an example would be like I'm trying to get our Native American collection in kind of a little more in proximity to one another. I don't want to, I feel then like I might be sort of racist. It's just like a real dilemma. But I try to give them Native American initial heading and then put actual context either by tribe or location behind that. Because our books on that topic were scattered all over, as were books in a lot of topics. Another example would be we're thinking about making a separate Basque shelving area, simply because we have a very strong Basque community and we have continued to receive some really good donations, but they end up getting scattered all over. So Basque sheep herders are over in sheep herding, and Basque politicians are usually under politics, and World Basque Affairs or Basque accomplishments end up in a totally another place, and it doesn't serve our readers well. So that's the kinds of things I'm working on, just FYI. I've been there. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, at WebDewey.
Yeah.
And I echo your sentiment in that it's what we have, and there's certainly many flaws with it, and I'm past the point of scratching my head. I'm more banging my head against the desk.
I'm glad to hear that, because I get that way, and it's just like why doesn't this work better? You know.
Well, there was an interesting article that was posted on Libs.org, I think, about the I believe it was University of British Columbia that was using a classification system, a Native American classification system developed by one of the tribe's librarians up there. Developed his own classification system for Native American collections, and they were using that exclusively for that. It wasn't a huge collection. It was about 2,000 items in the collection, but
I saw that article, and yeah, and that was really interesting. I actually worked with some librarians from the Ojibwe Nation about 12 or 14 years ago when I went to an advanced library class up in Madison, and they were already working on that as a group, and that discussion among Native Americans has been a very interesting topic for several decades. But I did see that article, and I appreciated it. Didn't really give me a lot of direction for what I'm doing, but yeah.
Go ahead.
Maybe at some time we could do a little bit of a, kind of a Dewey, if anyone else is interested, some sort of Dewey online training or discussion. It's when you get into advanced strings, and I try not to get them too long, but I do want to put like materials in a similar location. It's a real dilemma.
Yeah, I'd really be interested in taking that training too, Lori, because I catalog the nonfiction here, and I end up with a lot of numbers that I don't particularly like. You might get a kick out of this. I will share with you a piece of paper that I keep on my desk, and it is the longest Dewey number that I have ever encountered so far. And when I find a longer one, it will then replace this one. This is the Dewey number. It is 398.2452977250899979435.
I might have that beat, and when I'm back in the office, I'll look for it. But I had gone to the Dewey blog page that you had also mentioned a couple of months ago, and they had one. I think I counted 24 or 25 numbers. Crazy. That's way too extreme, but yeah.
And
yeah,
it has
amazing.
to do with folklore of wolves, I believe, and happens to be from the Pend Oreille tribe, which is one of the reasons why it's so long. It's because it's so specific. But Yeah, I'll keep that in mind, Lori, and I'll see if I can't find maybe some either free or paid trainings opportunities and post them to the list, and we'll see if we can't get some folks, you and I and other folks who do nonfiction, if they'd be interested in learning a little bit more about Dewey.
You have a subscription at Baker to WebDewey?
To WebDewey, yes, I do. It's a
Nice.
lifesaver.
I don't. Yeah, I don't. Yeah. I may have to send you a few examples to see what you can build through WebDewey sometime to make sure at least technically I'm close to the mark.
Yeah, by all means, send them when you got them, and I'll take a look. One of the
Okay.
things I love about Classify is that it has the Dewey links right next to it, which you may have noticed. If any of you aren't aware of this resource out there for cataloging nonfiction, I like how I put 1984 Orwell on the first one that comes up as Animal Farm. It'll have your most frequently used Dewey numbers and Library of Congress numbers, but the thing I really like is that here's the link, and it will take you supposedly right to the Dewey entry for George Orwell, English fiction.
Yeah, this Classify site was where I began to suspect we maybe don't want to keep removing all of the fast subject headings that we had been considering were duplicates, because they are hyperlinking out more and more. And this is part of that resource, I believe.
Right. You can enter your fast subject heading here, and often get, and then the titles that you get from that, you often compare with the title you have in hand, and sometimes I use that. It tends to be helpful for classification on subject.
Yeah, I'll lean on that more. I haven't been using it enough. I think I'd sort of forgotten that it could be a tool. So we'll see where we're at in a month or two and see who else wants any training on Dewey or shelving classification.
Folks around here are well acquainted with my cursing of Melville Dewey. Sometimes I'll just yell out profanities from my office, and they've pretty much resigned themselves to the fact that, oh, he must be finding Dewey numbers. So, is that right, Heather?
That is very accurate. Yes.
I don't know. I don't care for Melville Dewey very much. I don't think anybody who knew Melville Dewey cared for him very much, but all right, that was a great one. Does anybody else have any other questions, cataloging questions they want to bring up before we move to cat levels?
Another discussion for this group, or even just casual, is what are you finding as you catalog? How are you trying to help so many parents that are home, basically homeschooling or assisting schooling? Are you changing your collections at all? I mean, are you trying to find ways to classify things or make things readily available? Parents come in, and Tracy Hayes had asked me, how do you identify your early readers? And my initial response, was genre headings, and I just used the basic ones. And then as I've been reclassifying a lot of our true first readers so that parents can go directly to them for supplemental reading materials in the house, I haven't been able to find a single genre or a single 500 note or anything that would help parents look them up. I have taken our larger groups of books, I Can Read, We Both Read, and we have recatalogued them, not by author, but by that series title, so that parents can go to a whole collection of early readers. But it still leaves a lot of really good materials kind of scattered in the library, and it can be hard for parents to locate them unless staff has a lot of time to pull them in advance. Are any of you doing anything different with the homeschooling aspect of our resources?
Celine says our beginning readers have a different call number and they are shelved in the same location. And I think Tracy says the same thing.
That's the way ours have been done since I started working here. We have a whole row that's just beginning readers. They have a green dot on the spine under the call number, and the call number has a BR on it. So when they're searching, the families know that those are the beginning readers versus the beginning chapters. The only hard part the parents have is that all the publishers, of course, have different reading. One publisher's level 1 is another publisher's level 3, and none of them coincide with the school levels, you know, so they just have to look through them, but at least they have one area to go to.
Yeah, that's a cool idea.
So last year, I think it was, we actually have an entire reader collection, and our children's librarian sorted it based on reading comprehension levels, and we relabeled our entire collection. And we also have a parent resource collection already pulled out as a resource.
Yeah, this whole this year has really kind of drawn attention to the fact that I think that parent resources / homeschooling section probably needs more development, I think. But it's always kind of difficult, at least it has been for me, deciding where the line is when you're cataloging those types of materials, what goes into parent resources and what goes into the regular collection. You kind of have to make a subjective decision, and I don't know, as a cataloger and as a librarian, frankly, I kind of try and avoid subjective decisions as much as I can, but
That is a dilemma, because a lot of our favorite and classic children's authors are now getting lumped into some of those early reader sections. And so if they're searching, like for Maurice Sendak, probably 6 of his books are now located in an I Can Read section, which I didn't like doing that, but that's what we have to do, I think, for the current situation. And this current situation may be, to some degree, forever, with resources in our libraries. That's a tough thing, because you are re-emphasizing the value of a book in a way.
let's see, what did Perry say? Perry says some libraries also created a bridging fiction section. They're juvenile materials of chapter book items that are between picture books and upper elementary reading levels. Yeah, Heather, we have, how many levels do we have here? Do we have 4 different levels or 5 different levels?
5.
Wow. And they all have their own different labeling, and they're color coded though. I think that's how we do that.
Yeah.
I'm glad somebody has the knowledge to be able to tell one from the other. I'm afraid that's not in my skill set. But yeah, Lori, I'm interested to see what the long-term implications are. The longer this goes on, the more that we're going to, the more that the future is going to look different from the past, I think is what I'm trying to say. And the reasons for that and what that's going to look like, I don't know. As long as it doesn't touch my nonfiction, everything's fine.
Perry,
go ahead.
Perry, if you have any links to some information on how you determine the reading levels in that bridging fiction section, or some article that explained how they went about it, I'd be interested in that. If you could send it out in an email at some time or something. We're just getting a lot of parents that are really, last year everybody was dismayed. This year, people are just kind of settling into it, and our kids in the school district in town go every other day. the rurals and Crane are full-time schools, and they're small enough, I think, to get away with that for now. But parents are, in some ways, they're actually embracing part of this, and they almost are not wanting to ever go back to full-time. So I think this is going to be a long-term arrangement with public libraries. That which we had all worked so hard to try to shore up our school libraries. Cheryl had done a really good job, got grants, and we basically breathed life right back into the school and the ESD libraries. And then now they're supposed to be self-maintaining, but that could be a forever battle too, because that's usually the first budget cut in a school funding dilemma. It's the media resource room, materials and staff. But so that which we had tried to really not house right in the public libraries is now coming back in our laps. And I don't think it'll ever go away not for a decade or so. I don't know what the future is, but I think this is a resource parents are really needing and wanting. And I'm just trying to figure out how catalogers can help arrange things so it's easy for the layperson to find these materials.
That's interesting to me, though, that you mentioned the information in the MARC record. You were having difficulty finding. I don't normally go through these types of genre headings, but you weren't really able to find much that you felt was beneficial in 655.
Yeah, picture books and, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. But there was nothing that said first reader or, just those early, and that of course is in the reading level guidelines and the 500 notes, but that's not something parents are really adept at using.
And so then you mentioned the series headings, and then like Celine said, you're kind of at the mercy of the publisher as to what their different levels are at that point.
Yes, they vary a lot. That's very true. Yeah, it's just interesting how this is sort of changing, I think, for all of us for a while anyway.
Just looking at Tracy's comment, primary reader, limited vocabulary for early readers. Are those headings or are those shelving locations or? Oh, just description.
Yeah, descriptions, yeah.
So another question, when you guys have early readers that are nonfiction, are you grouping them together with the other early readers or putting them in the nonfiction section?
Interesting, you should bring that up, because that was a dilemma initially. And so then at this point now, if it's pretty elementary, say you're second grade and under, I have now put those it's in the easy reader section based on the series. So I can read or we both read, and we're no longer keeping those over in the nonfiction. But yeah, that's a good question too. And I may end up doing this all over again and doing something like Celine said, give all of these the initial call number of ER and having a whole new section. But
yeah,
that means a lot of shelving, relocating, and scrunching things and moving things. It's a lot of work. But yeah, nonfiction, if they're really elementary, I'm putting them into beginning reading sections. And parents like it because some of their kids, especially boys like to read what appears to them sometimes to be, real history or real science. And they tend to read those well.
They do. I agree. I think they're better grouped together with the other easy readers so that they're findable. But.
Carrie put a lot of put nonfiction in with our beginning readers, and they're those National Geographic and one of those collections, the new ones that have come out. All of our beginning readers are a different size format than our regular nonfiction or regular picture books. They're all kind of a smaller. And so the nonfiction that she found fits that same format.
So you said, Celine, that you put yours all in the same area, nonfiction too?
Well, she found beginning reader nonfiction, and she put that in with the beginning readers. Again, so it's all the same format with the reading levels, where the reading levels are on the spines, and it's that smaller format, smaller than a picture book.
Yeah, I think that's a good decision.
We used to get teachers who would want specific reading levels about specific types of books, so it is easier just to put them in our reader collection and pull those when they ask.
Yeah, we had done that for teachers too, but parents don't want to be quite that scientific so far. And yeah, they just want to kind of know general grade level and then find topics that interest their child. Do any of you know, are your media resource rooms in your community, or your school libraries, are they taking cuts, and or are there librarians being reassigned to more classwork or online Zoom work, or what have you noticed in your schools? Have you heard? I'm hearing a lot of cuts, in the school library programs, several areas, not just here.
There are a lot of cuts in our schools. I used to be the library manager at our elementary school, and we also shelved our books by accelerated reader levels in the school library. But now I think the person that runs it runs like 2 different libraries, and they just don't have the time to do a lot like they used to, because they've just been cut so much.
Jenny, the bus that you're talking about, is that just for school stops, or is it also a part of the public library system as well? How fast can she type? Oh, but she comes to the library one day a week and goes out to schools. So it's not kind of the same thing as the public library bookmobile. Oh, yeah, uses, drops off lunches and books. Oh, well, if you're going to drop off lunch, you might as well drop off books too.
Our Dial-A-Ride has been serving that function. They did it all through the spring and summer, and they had locations where they drop off, the school lunches, and parents just had to sign up as they normally would through the school, and it was really a good service. And our children's librarian did not circulate library books through that, but she did always hand out free reading books, free, paperbacks and stuff with that, and that worked well.
Mary says she still takes books to the K-3 classrooms and have them all ordering books from the public and school libraries. You must be busy. Yes. Does anybody else want to chime in what they're doing in their areas, or their school media libraries, or what they're doing for their early readers? Yeah, it was a great discussion. Thanks, folks. All right, well, let me just quickly, I won't do this exhaustively, because these documents will be uploaded and available for everybody. I'll just point out some key things, some key changes I think that are applicable. These are the documents that we had submitted and that were approved. The cataloging policy, the core competencies, and then these two Cat 1 documents. And I'll kind of show you a little bit about what was done and what you need to know about it, I think. I'll start with this core competencies document. And we kind of revised this to be a little bit more specific about what the competency was and just kind of an examples of what each level should be able to do. And so if you have been considering moving up to the next level, either up to Cat 2 or Cat 1, wherever you may be, this may be a good document for you to reference. So if you say, hey, I know how to do that, I know how to do that, I know how to do that, perhaps I should be a Cat 2 instead of a Cat 3, or Cat 1 instead of a Cat 2. Now you all know I'm colorblind, right? Is there actually a different color in the Cat 1 items versus the Cat 2 items? Because that looks exactly the same to me.
One is yellow and the other is green.
Is it really?
Yes.
Wow. Is it just me? It must be just me. That looks exactly the same.
No, I'm colorblind also, but I can see that difference. So
Really?
you have something else. You have something else going on. I am colorblind. Yeah.
Can I blame my monitor? Maybe that's the problem. Well, here's the weird thing. The weird thing, and sorry folks, this is a complete tangent, but where it gives me a little preview on my GoToMeeting screen of what y'all are seeing on my screen, I can see the difference there in that tiny little preview, but on my actual screen, it looks exactly the same. Oh well.
Huh.
Anyway, I will concede that it's my monitor and blame that instead of thinking that it's my problem. Anyway, these are the competencies. They've been expanded, they've been clarified. Take a look at them. And if you are a Cat 2 and you are looking at the Cat 2 competencies and going, oh, I'm not sure I know how to do that, this might be a good opportunity to talk to your mentor, do a little research, and practice those skills so that they are in your skill set. All right.
And/or suggest some more online trainings
Yes.
for the whole group. You know, if you see something that you really are questioning, maybe that's a training that all of us could work on.
Right, I agree. I think there are definitely some areas in all three levels that deserve some attention. And I'd like to see us as a group develop perhaps some more of our own internal trainings to address some of those areas. I will gladly shift that on to Celine, who no doubt is going, what did I sign up for? All right, let's take a look at the cataloging policy. This is a 4-page document. I'll let you read through it. But one of the few things I will point out, let's see, here are the levels, which this hasn't changed from before, but some of the terminology has changed to be more consistent and less obsolete. Cat 1, Cat 2, Cat 3. Let's go down here to permanent records. This is where we clarified what the expectations are for the records in our system. And I will point out to you number 2 here that says bibliographic records must contain core and core if RDA elements using correct mark fields. Notice the asterisk. This is pending our RDA subcommittee of next year where we will change from being a hybrid catalog to an RDA only catalog. So this number 2 point doesn't apply quite yet, since we're still accepting AACR2 records in our catalog until that happens. Maintenance standards, communications. Okay. Reporting and resolving problems, and the review of continued privileges. So this isn't an exhaustive list of problems to look for, or problems to report rather, but these are just some examples of some of the types of things we would like to not see in our bib records in Sage. We wanted to kind of give some examples and clarify that a little bit. We're trying to avoid these, and the reason why we drafted this review of continued privileges section is if we continue to see problems from a specific place, specific library, specific cataloger, we wanted to point out a process that we thought would be fair and would be objective and would be consistent for how we can address these problems with any particular library or cataloger, and try and design a graduated process so as we can resolve these problems somewhere along the way without having to resort to any kind of loss of privileges. However, that is spelled out there if that needs to happen at some point. We would prefer that it not, and we'd prefer just to have the cataloger, along with their mentor and library director, come up with a solution where we can maintain our expected level of quality for our records in Sage. So that's new. Like I said, there are other things in here that have been updated, clarified, so I'd encourage you to look through this and read through this when it's uploaded to the website, and I will let you know when that is the case. The other two documents have to deal with Cat2 catalogers who may be interested in moving up to the Cat 1 level. And one of the reasons that we convened this subcommittee in the first place is because this process we felt needed quite a bit of attention, because what we had, frankly, just kind of wasn't working really for anybody. And I don't think that's anybody's fault necessarily. It's just that we needed to take the time to revise the process so that it was more fair, more objective, and just more clear. So I would encourage you Cat 2 catalogers that are interested in moving to Cat 1 to take a look through this. It it clearly demonstrates what we would like the process to look like, the amount of trainings that you'll need, the time frame you're looking at. And I'd like to draw your attention specifically down here. One of the tasks we had in the subcommittee was to design assessments that we thought were proper for moving from one level to the other. And the subcommittee members have been working on designing these assessments around the competencies for each level. And there will be a test for each of the levels. So if you are Cat 1 looking, or Cat 2 looking to move to Cat 1, there are assessments for those. And once you submit your Cat 1 application, we'll get you started taking those tests, what you need to do to get to Cat 1. If you're a Cat 3 looking to move to Cat 2, there will be a Cat 2 written test. It's not quite as daunting as the Cat 1 test is, but there is a test along with that as well. Now, before anybody gets nervous or scared, no, we are not going to send the Cat 2 test to all the current Cat 2 catalogers in order for them to maintain their Cat 2 level. And the same thing with the Cat 1 and the Cat 3. This is just for folks that are new to the SAGE system in order to establish their competencies at a particular level, or for those catalogers looking to move up to the next level. And as of this last weekend, we had those tests finalized and in place, and so they are ready for any catalogers that are looking to apply. I would encourage you to do that. The application form is very simple. We just added a couple of questions. It's just a 2-page application form. And this is the application to move from Cat 2 to Cat 1. Catalogers, Cat 3 catalogers looking to move to Cat 2 just need to let their mentor know, and they can be sent a Cat 2 test to be taken. And then there is a rubric. I don't have it in front of me, but there is a rubric for what the requirement is. Here's the rubric for Cat 1, 75% or higher to pass that test. I'm not sure if that's the same for Cat 2 or not, Heather. She may know more than me about that.
Sure.
Sure. Is the rubric completed yet, I wonder? Perhaps we still
Not 100%, but I imagine around 75 will be the same for all of them.
Jenny has a great question. If they have already applied, they do so again. Yes, we would like to request that if you have applied to be Cat 2 or Cat 1 in the past, we would like to encourage everybody to go through this process. I know it's kind of frustrating to do it again, but I assure you it's more clear, more fair, more objective is the key here, so that once you hand in your application, there'll be clear directions, what you need to do, where you need to go, so that you can start preparing for those tests. Once those tests are passed, we have really objective proof that the cataloger can move up to the next level, and we can get that done easily. That's one of my assignments as immediate past chair, by the way, is I'm kind of going to be the liaison between the mentors committee and any applicants. So don't be surprised if you hear from me letting you know what it is you need to do. But I would encourage everybody to go ahead and get that process started, and let's get this system working. Does anybody else have any other questions they'd like to throw out there regarding this process or any of the documents or anything else really we've talked about?
If you have any questions or concerns, please contact your mentor or John. And don't be daunted by the application. It is not the biggest part of this. Don't let it intimidate you.
The ultimate goal is to encourage and to get more folks up to the higher levels, not only to improve the quality of our records in SAGE, but to increase the number of folks that are able to serve as mentors. The more mentors we have, the less workload it is, I think, on everybody. And we really have kind of a mentor shortage right now. We have some areas in SAGE that don't have adequate representation. And the more mentors we have, the more equipped we'll be to be able to provide the training that they need, and just be a resource, or as the document says, I think, go-to folks to help people out when they have cataloging issues. All right, does anybody else have any questions? Don't feel like if you ask a question, it's going to sound dumb. Trust me, I ask way more dumb questions than anybody here. Perry can probably attest to that. Okay, well, it is 12:01, and I think we got through everything that we needed to get through. I'll have more information later on about when these documents are uploaded, or if we have any additional trainings. I think I can neither confirm nor deny that might be beneficial to folks. I'll just go ahead and blast those out to everybody. If you find something that you think might be helpful for the group, let the group know or let me know. Okay, well, December is our next meeting, and Celine will chair it, which I am super excited about. Thank you, Celine. And we will see all of y'all in 2 months, if not before. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.